All right, letting everybody know that this is not RamView. We'll be live tomorrow at 2 p.m., but this is to talk about my new book that finally came out, Game Day at the RamCave, in the RamCave, and I just want to give a little background on this and encourage you folks to maybe give it a shot. It is my third football book. My first football book was Tangent Dreams, did well. My second football book was Temple City Company of the Ages. It did well. And this is my third football book, Game Day in the RamCave. I've written 8 novels now, or 7 novels, 1 devotional. And of the 5 other books, the top 3 books are all my football books. So if you want to check those out, that would be great. So the question always comes up, is like, why? Why did you write this game, write about this? Well, it's what I do. When an idea pops into my head, I know we're all built differently. But when the idea comes for me, it doesn't go away until I do something about it. I wish it was all about making $1 million. I still hope it can be about making $1 million. But really, when I write these books, it's about clearing my mind and thoughts and ideas. You know, that's the funny thing and the hard thing about ideas is that you could write one book or get one thought out of your head and then another thought comes in. I know folks that have written one book and that's all they did because it didn't sell very well. I've had books that have sold pretty good, and then I've had books that didn't sell at all beyond making my money back and everything. But it's not the point. You know, these ideas, they're like appetites, right? You can ruin an appetite, but there's another appetite on the way. You have an idea and it just keeps pounding at you. You got to deal with it, just like your appetite. And it's always another one on the way. The other question came up was how? How did you write this? Because isn't everyone busy? And that's the classic question, you know. And I hate to give a Nike answer of just do it. I'll admit this book and my last book before it, The Pastor Who Couldn't Wait for Christmas to Be Over, not a football book, story about being a youth pastor at Christmas time. But these are the 2 hardest books I've ever written. And I've written books that are twice as long. If you look at Sin Virus is over 500 pages. A little bit more dense book. And so is The Dead Bug Tales. But these books were hard because the post-COVID world, I'm busier than ever. I think a lot of us are busier than ever. You know, it used to be you go to work and you come home and you left your work there. Now our home is our work, right? I preach, as you know, in my day job. I preach 8 times a week, 3 times on Sunday. I do 3 RamView podcasts a week, and each one of those messages requires prep time. It takes a lot of prep time to get those things ready. You know, I'm hands-on with 5 different kids camps during the course of the year, young people's camps with the Outsiders program. And that's not only the days I'm at camp, because you see me broadcast from places like Granite Ridge, but all the preparation that goes with running camp. It's a lot of work. I also serve on 2 district boards, an advisory board and a credentials board. By the way, I have a family and I have a church. The family I'm also responsible for. And so those take up a lot of time as well. And by the way, last December, my wife got hit by a car and while crossing the street. I don't think I'm unique, but I've not allowed any of these things to be a reason I don't write. You know, I have to get up early in the morning. Hey, Mr. Burns, thank you so much. I have to get up early in the morning to write. That's when I get up early. If I have to stay up late out in the RamCave and write, I do it. And if you're a writer, you're going to do it. And if you don't do it, it's no one else's fault but your own, right? I know that sounds harsh. It sounds a little rough, but writers write. And if you're not writing, then you're not a writer. That's flat out. If you keep talking about being a writer, or you want to be a writer and you're not writing, then you're not a writer. And I'm also highly skeptical of people who come to me and talk about writer's block, right? It's deadline. Even at the newspaper when I was working for Mid-Valley Sports and the website, oh, I couldn't get my story turned in. I had writer's block. I said, writer's block? No, you had a deadline. Deadline supersedes writer's block. Maybe if you're contracted with a 3-book deal for $10 million, the pressure of that, I'll listen to you if you talk about writer's block. But when you're in my world, my realm, my neighborhood, which is a little lower middle class, there's no such thing as writer's block. Also, extending the time a little bit in terms of Game Day in the RamCave is it involves NFL football. It's a fictional NFC title game between the Packers and Rams in Los Angeles. So How do you do this? How do you talk about this? Because we've got trademark and copyright issues we have to deal with. And Pat Cherry, who did this cover and did a great job with it, he had to deal with me as we went through 3, 4, and finally the 5th cover that we came up with, because we wanted to be careful. It's a very careful needle to thread that you don't violate trademarks. It was tough, but I love the outcome. I love the signature lightning in the background because it is stormy weather in the book. But it took time. The book was finished in the spring, but it took time to get this part of it done. About the book itself, it's what it's like trying to watch the big game with everyone else dropping by and not being equally invested. Ever been there? Ever been to a place where you're trying to watch the Super Bowl or trying to watch the Rams in a big game and there are people there who just don't care? They have no emotional scar tissue and they just want to come and watch the commercials, right? It's a nightmare. I can remember watching the World Series about 20 years ago. I'm sitting in my house, the door knocks, and it's the World Series. It's Game 6. And I'm like, who's knocking at the door when the World Series is on? A couple of Mormon kids came knocking on the door. Now, I'm not Mormon, but I was polite to them. But the other aspect of it was I told them, I said, guys, I'm a Nazarene minister. I'm not converting, but here's just a heads up. If you want people to be on your side, don't knock on the door during the World Series. Don't come to my place to talk about commercials, right? My wife has asked me, hey, let so-and-so come to the RamCave, watch a RamCave with you. And I said, are you out of your mind? This is why the RamCave was built, so I don't have to deal with the riffraff that wants to come in here. Hey, a lot of stuff in this book is true. I guard the gate. Not everyone can come into the RamCave. Absolutely not, right? You don't have to be a nutso Ram fan, but you better be a football fan. And you better not come in here lackadaisically and just go, oh, okay, I don't care. That's how the book came about. That was the genesis of this book. Of course, because it involves my situations growing up and things I've seen in other places, names have been changed to protect the innocent. And of course, my execution by car bomb. But everything I cover in the book is true. These things happened, right? I shared once, I shared in the intro to my book, The Dark Norm. I show it because it's another excellent Pat Cherry cover, who's done all my covers. This is a book about bullying. It is a dark book. A little bit of football is mentioned, but it's not necessarily a football story. And but I mentioned in there that I'm a better observer than writer, and I still think that's the case. As a writer, I don't think I'm a great writer. I'll let somebody else decide if I'm a good writer. I think I can settle in for competent writer, but what I'm excellent at is observing. And I think when you're in ministry, you have to be an observer, right? Especially when you build a staff, the sports writing staff we had at Mid-Valley Sports, you have to be an observer. Who's going to work in the room? Who's not going to work in the room? And one of the other things you can do is that I can hear all the conversations while watching the game, which might be a curse or a blessing. But I remember being in those rooms and hearing people talking about where they're going to go for dinner or what movie they're going to go see. And it's, 3rd and 7 at the 35. And if the Rams don't convert, they're going to have to punt late in the 4th quarter. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Right. And, but I've had to change names and everything. So I'm not writing specifically about anybody, just so everyone knows. Right. Also, this is the first time I wrote third person omniscient. Fancy word, 50-cent thing there. But third person omniscient means the narrator knows all the thoughts, actions, and feelings of all the main characters. So it's a little different for me. In Sin Virus, I wrote third person, okay? But with POVs, there's a specific point of views in every one of them. Tangent Dreams and The Pastor Who Couldn't Wait for Christmas to Be Over, these are first person novels. And so they're a little easier to tell and easier to pick up on. That's the person's talking to you in the story. In third person omniscient, I took this route for game day is because I wanted to have all the major characters' thoughts happening at the same time while having coffee in the coffee shop while watching the game in the RamCave, right? Because everyone's thinking, everyone's got their mind racing when they're trying to be serious about something, and there's all these distractions coming in the room. Also, another thing I did was I incorporated game action in between all the conversations and arguments through the words of the game announcers, which are black, bold. So you'll see them interspersed during the game because they tell you what's happened, what's taking place. And I did it to enhance the effect of the announcers being present and people watching the game. So literally, I'm sharing what's happening in a football game between the Packers and Rams, and while the friends and everybody in the room in the RamCave are watching the game. So it is a little different thing. Some people might not like that style, but that's just the way I did it. I wanted to get it done the way I wanted to get it done. First time I wrote a book, Tangent Dreams, the argument was, well, it didn't end the way it was supposed to end, because everyone wants a Friday Night Lights. Everyone wants, Varsity Blues. Everyone wants this romantic ending and all that kind of stuff. And that's probably why I don't sell big time, is because I can't do it. I can't change the story that put in my head, right? I can't change the idea. It's just got to go out the way it is. Also, in the course of the book, you're going to notice I took the downs and distances and yards gained in a play, and I put them in numeric form. It was a formatting choice. My friend Steve Ramirez from San Gabriel Tribune, he might not like it because he's pretty down the line when it comes to certain grammatic standards. But I went with numeric things for down, distances, and yards, except for when starting a sentence. But it expedited things. It kept things moving, so to speak, instead of writing them all out. Is that Mr. Burns there? Did you write? Michael Negretti, thank you for being with us. Tim Burns, good ending. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Okay. Also, with the book, you're going to notice I went with it doesn't show through here, but I went with a slightly larger print, and it looks a little awkward sometimes when you're in there. Boy, there's a lot of margins in there that you can write notes in, not that you would need to, but my writing style is I like the pages to look airy. And what I mean by that is that I don't want you turning a page and having Mount Everest to climb because there's a paragraph that's an entire page length, right? Credit my sports writing background is that I keep my paragraphs short, and I like it airy because a dense appearance turns people off sometimes. So the format might seem a little bit different, but it's set up in a way so turning a page is easy. There's a sense of satisfaction when you turn a page, and then when the next page you go to, it's not as daunting, right? And it keeps the reader hanging around, right? It may not win me any literary awards, but again, first and foremost, I have to be honest, it's about clearing the deck. Second, yeah, I'd like to make $1 billion and everything, but it's not about winning literary awards. The goal of the book, Game Day in the RamCave, is I don't know ultimately how it's going to be received. My goal was to take the reader to a football game with a bunch of fanatics, mature in every aspect of their life except this one thing, their team, where they're not rational at all. Like I said, for me, I've exercised almost all of my demons. I don't get crazy about Lakers, Dodgers, Kings, USC football anymore. A little bit about the Mets, but not too bad. The only thing I get psycho passionate about are the Rams. I still get upset. I destroyed a water bottle just like this one, a metal water bottle, when the Ravens had that block in the back and returned that punt return in sudden death last season. I destroyed one of these things because I was so angry. And I'm asking myself, what am I doing here? What am I crazy? So it is a little bit about being with a fanatic and also asking the question in terms of when do you grow up, right? When do you walk away from this, or do you ever, or should you ever have to walk away from this kind of passion? And again, part of the genesis of the book. So I think I've gone about 13 minutes. So my encouragement to you is get yourself some pizza and come to the game. The Rams are playing the Packers, and if they win, they go to the Super Bowl. The Ram quarterback is Alec Jamon. Fictionally, he played at Dominguez High School. He's in Tangent Dreams, and the Packers quarterback is a guy named Dax Blair, who is an excellent game manager. So looking forward to having you guys getting some feedback on this. Please check it out. Talks about a lot of Ram history and all the Ram heartbreaks. That's the scar tissue. So if you check it out, I'd really appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys for your support. I usually don't do these kind of special things too often, but I feel like with this group, I wanted to. We will be on live tomorrow, 2 p.m., because the game is on, 5-ish or something from Brazil. We want to make sure everyone's watching that. So we're going to be live 2 p.m. for Ram View tomorrow. All right, guys. God bless. Tim Burns, Mike Negretti, whoever else is out there. I got 4 viewers in the middle of the day. Thanks, guys, for clicking on. Check out the book. It's on Amazon, and I'll try to drop in another link as well. God bless. Take care. We'll see you guys tomorrow.